Dr. Chan, we talked about science being pretty logical, but do you have any different beliefs for anything that might be considered as beyond logic? Like, for example, some people justify love as, oh, it's hormones, but then some people actually believe that it's something more poetic, maybe. Do you think these things can be justified easily?
Yes, well, as a scientist, I believe in the scientific theories and our understanding of the scientific view of the world. But I am also a person of faith. I am a Christian, a Catholic. So you see my cross here. So with our religious beliefs, sometimes they are not. We cannot explain the faith with science completely, because sometimes it goes beyond, our scientific understanding. But then I also see our faith as being logical as well. It answers a lot of questions that science cannot answer. For example, the purpose of life and what's after life, or why should we be a good person rather than a bad person? Science doesn't answer these questions, and faith a lot of times help us to become better persons.
Mm-hmm. And Irfan, what about you? What do you think?
I completely agree. I kind of look at the scientific method as a way for humans to kind of reason and find answers to things that they are curious about. And to me, science is a very human thing, and it's our way of justifying things around us, and it's what makes sense. But I do at the same time know that science is about being open-minded, that your point of view is not always the correct. It's like an art of interpretation, right? You're always interpreting your own data, you're interpreting your own research, you're interpreting data that could be completely a human perception, could be complete human perception. And that's why I think scientists are always open-minded to kind of believing that, hey, even though I see these results in front of me, and so many scientists have worked on this to reach this conclusion, who knows? It all might be something else, it might not be what we thought it was. And I think this kind of open-mindedness is very important in science. And that's why I'm sure most scientists do believe in something more than what they're looking at, or at least in my experience. And personally, I think it's really good to have a little bit of a crazy mindset of thinking of the bigger picture in a more poetic way. And I think it really helped to kind of stay motivated in the field as well.
Mm-hmm. And thank you for your answers. Now we're actually slowly moving on to the Q&A section for Dr. Chan. HKUST students ask you a couple questions, and now I want to ask those to you. The first question is, how important do you think emotional intelligence in the field of science?
No, I think the field of science is no different from working in the field of science is not different from working in the field of humanities or finance or other fields. You work with people, okay? That's the bottom line. In science, you don't work alone, and a lot of great scientific achievements are achieved by a team of people working together, collaborating with each other. And therefore, the emotional intelligence element helps us to build harmony and create friendships and to get things done, basically making difficult works seems easier, and people feel happier, and so that helps with teamwork. And science research happens in research groups, and so there must be good working relationships between all the colleagues working together. So I think a great scientist should have also a great emotional intelligence, so that they can handle all the different situations that occur in the human interaction parts. Yeah.
That's great. And the second question is about research. A student is asking, if I'm pursuing a science degree, should I definitely do lab work or research, or are there any other opportunities for me?
I would say that at the undergraduate level, it's not essential to be doing research at the time. But of course, it is a good experience to have, especially in the senior years, as you gained more scientific knowledge. I would say research is an experience that you should acquire when you have already built up some scientific understanding, the fundamental knowledge. So I think in your first or second year, you should focus on studying and then trying to get a good understanding of the fundamentals for your field. And doing research also, you can classify them as some research requiring advanced knowledge or some specialized skill sets. And those are perhaps takes you need quite a bit of time to train for those research projects. But there are also some research projects that are quite simple to carry out, and you can learn a lot from the experience. And I would suggest for our students to try and do what they're interested in and within their capabilities, so they don't get discouraged from taking on a project that might be too difficult for them, for the level. So I think it's important to talk to the supervisor of the research, the professors, and really get an understanding of what the project is about and whether it's really within your interest and capabilities.
Mm-hmm. I think this was super helpful. And the last question is, what are some alternative career opportunities for science students, and what would be some suggestions that you would like to give to students in terms of their career choices?
Yes, I mean, science, as you have heard from Evan and myself, is not limited to just being a scientist. Scientific understanding can help us to tackle a lot of real life problems. An obvious choice, of course, for the career is the teaching. A lot of our science graduates end up as teachers in different levels of schools, from kindergartens, primary, secondary schools to university levels. Another type of career that a lot of scientists go into might be actually into the finance or business world, because our scientific knowledge help us to make logical decisions, help us to solve real life problems, and help us to be creative in the businesses or entrepreneurships opportunities. And then I guess there are a vast amount of opportunities. They're not closed for scientists to enter. Of course, some career requires further training or further studies, but go for what you feel passionate about. And of course, it's best that you can actually make use of your scientific knowledge. But a lot of our students just end up doing something that they do not need to have the knowledge, the theory and all those things that you have learned. They might not be useful in your career, but the sort of training of the mind would be there behind what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Professor. This was such an insightful answer, and I think many people will definitely find this so helpful. And I want to thank both of you for joining us today and having such a nice conversation. We're slowly ending our episode here, and I want to thank our viewers who watch us as well, and see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.